guys, this is Mrs. Terry. So today we are going to do Chapter 11, Lesson 4, Paying for Colleges. Okay, so this is the one my students particularly, this is the lesson you have all been waiting for. Unfortunately, I would probably be a little more sassy if this was in person than online, but I'm going to tell you all about why I hate TCU. Okay, so are you ready? So the first thing I want to start with is types of colleges. Not all colleges are the same. There are different types. The number one thing I want you to know is I expect every single person in regular or pre-AP to come out of high school and go to a 2-year trade school or a 4-year university. Every single person. Okay, so there is a different route for everyone. Okay, so if you are in pre-AP, I assume that you're on a 4-year university track. Okay, that is an assumption because you are on an accelerated track. Now, if you are in regular, I could see you in a 2-year college, a trade school, or a 4-year university. All three of those are options for you. Okay, so let's talk about what a 2-year college is and what trade school is. So a 2-year college is a college where you receive an associate's degree, or you can go there and then transfer to a 4-year college. A lot of people do that to save money. An example of that is TCC, Tarrant County College. Some of you have siblings or cousins that go to TCC. It is a great school, has a lot of great programs, as well as great programs. It also can help you save money on your journey to a 4-year university. So now let's talk about trade school. So trade school, you can receive a certificate at the end of the program for the skill required. Okay, so cosmetology, so that's cutting hair, doing makeup, doing nails, mechanic, forklifts. My brother-in-law is a welder, right? Anything like that. You go to trade school, you get a certificate, and you are going to be paid more, and you are going to be able to get jobs that otherwise you couldn't. An electrician makes more money than a teacher does, right? A plumber. Those are great career paths that you would go to trade school for. So now let's talk about 4-year universities. You're probably a little more familiar with 4-year universities because you've all of your teachers have gone to one, so you've seen us rep in our school pride. So from a 4-year university, you can receive a bachelor's degree. So there's two different types of universities. There's public universities, which are funded by the government, and so they are more affordable. They can still be very expensive, but they are more affordable. So there's Texas Tech University, Recum Tech, UT, A&M, UNT, OSU, all of those are public universities. There's also private universities. They are not funded by the government, so they are more expensive. So TCU, Baylor, SMU, Harvard, Yale, Rice, if it has Christian in the name, it is a private university. Okay, so private universities are not better than public universities. And public universities are not better than private. Okay, so I want to make sure that's really clear that they're all universities. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Just because you pay more for a university does not mean it's a better quality college. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about ways to get to college, because how the heck am I going to pay for college? So there's a variety of different ways. Most likely, maybe you and your sibling Maybe you and your friend are not going to pay for college the exact same way. It's very unlikely that you and someone else would pay for college the same way. So the first thing I want to talk about is a savings account. A savings account is when you save for college, you put the money in a savings account, and you pay for college that way. Most people don't have a savings account that will cover their entire college. Talk to your parents, see if they have a savings account for you. See if it's going to cover part of the college, all of the college. Talk to them and see, right? A lot of people have a savings account, but it's just not going to cover all of it. And that's completely normal. So just talk to your parents, see what they're going to have available for you. Student loans. Student loans are a loan that you get to pay for college. It's specific for college. Just like a home loan is to pay for your house, a student loan is to pay for your college. They're pretty easy to qualify for. You just apply online, they give you the money, but the big thing is you have to pay it back and with interest. So, once I finish college, 6 months after college ends, you start paying back your college loans. There are people who have been paying off their college loans for more than 20 years. You need to be really careful and not take more college loans than you need. So let's say they say, hey, Miss Terry, you qualify for $20,000 in loans, but I only need $10,000. I'm only going to take $10,000 in a loan. I'm not going to take the other $10,000 because I don't need it. I'm not going to take more than I need because I'm going to have to pay it back. And with interest, people have took out $30,000 worth of college loans, and they had to pay back a total of $100,000 because of interest. So make sure you are really careful if you're going to use a student loan. I do have some student loans, but I was really careful when I got student loans to make sure I wasn't in debt. Now let's talk about scholarships. Scholarships are something that you hear really often in movies and TV. People will be like, oh yeah, they got a full ride or a half ride, or they got a partial scholarship to college. So a scholarship is earned based on merit. So you can get an academic scholarship. You can get a sports scholarship. You're going to hear about sports scholarships in the movies quite a bit. You could get a choir scholarship, a band scholarship, a theater scholarship. You can get a lot of different scholarships based on different activities you do and different things. But a big thing is you have to apply for it and you have to earn it. So a lot of people are really good at something and they still don't get a scholarship. Some people get full rides, and that's super awesome. That means they get their entire college paid for. Some people get half of it, as well as some people get like, hey, here's $2,000 a year, $5,000 a year. So there's scholarships look very different, and you have to apply for them, and it can be a lot of work, lots of essays. Grants are really similar to scholarships, that's why I connected them, but they're given by nonprofit organizations. You have to apply for them, and you also do not pay it back. Just like a scholarship, a grant, some of you might be able to qualify for if you are the first person in your family to go to college, if you're Hispanic, if you're African American, if you're Asian American, if you're Native American. There's all of these different ways you could qualify, and so you really want to look into that. But remember, scholarship and grants are not that easy to get. You have to apply and earn them. Now, a work study. A work study is where you work at the college while attending, and they pay for part of your college. So, You'll have people who work in the library, they'll work in the food halls, right? Work in the dorms, and they'll get part of their college. Maybe they get to live in the dorm for free, which is quite a bit of money. Maybe they get part of their tuition paid for. So work study, usually you have to qualify based on your parents' income. So if your parents don't make a lot of money, then you could qualify to work study. And that means you have to work at the college, but you get it paid for. So let's talk about the cost of colleges. So the cost of college can be found on a university page. So if I go to texastech.com.edu or if I go to universityoftexas.edu, any of those, I can find this. Some colleges have it written out just like this, super nice and neat. And some colleges, it's not as neat. And it's harder to navigate. When you are applying for college and trying to figure out if you can afford to attend that college, if you can't figure out their website, call, ask the counselor, ask for help. I know when I was looking up colleges last night, I was like, wow, some of these websites are hard to navigate. So the first thing is tuition. Tuition is your main fee for going to college there. Then you have room and board, also called housing. Board is your meals. Okay, so room and board is your housing and your meals. You have books and supplies, and they've put some other costs in here. So this is an example I got from Texas Tech. So the tuition is $11,320, and they expect that at the end of that 1 year of college, you would spend $26,712 in 1 year of college. So that's something really important when you apply to college. You need to figure out, is this reasonable for you? So this is when I get a little bit sassy. So let's look at this. So the first thing I'm going to start with is, I'm going to go back to TCC. I'm going to start with public universities. So for 1 year, tuition at Tech is $11,000 and change. At Texas A&M, pretty much the same thing. University of Texas, the same. University of North Texas is about $1,000 less. Texas Women's is like $4,000 less. UTA is pretty much the same thing. Sam Houston is a lot less expensive. University of Houston, Texas State. Okay, so this is the cost for 1 year of tuition. That's just the cost to go there. I also put the cost for 4 years. I just multiplied by 4. So just to pay tuition to go to the greatest university, in my opinion, Texas Tech, that's $45,280. Okay, so that's a lot of money. Now let's talk about 1 year all in, including room, meals, transport, books, because you have to pay for your own books. For 1 year at Tech, it's $26,000. But for 4 years, it's $106,000. That's a lot of money. A&M, $30,000, all in $120,000. University of Texas, $28,000, all in $115,000. So you can see that there's more than just tuition when you're trying to figure out, can I afford to go there? Like, if you're trying to figure out if I should go to Texas Tech or University of North Texas, University of North Texas, you can live at home. Texas Tech, you can't. You can save a lot of money, like $5,000 a year, if you live at home. That's a big difference. So figuring out where to go to college, not only are you going to find a college that has the program you want to study in, But also, you need to figure out, can I afford to go there, or should I find a different college? Okay, and then let's talk about private universities. Private universities are not funded by the government, so they're more expensive. So we have that Texas Tech is $11,000 in tuition each year, but TCU is $51,000. All in at Texas Tech, it's $45,000. All in that's 4 years at Tech. Let's go 4 years at Tech is $45,000. 4 years at TCU is $206,000. You can see that you can pay all of your tuition for 4 years at Tech than you can pay 1 year at TCU. 4 years at Tech is 1 year at TCU. And you go, so does that mean that TCU is a better university? Will I get a better education at TCU than I will at Texas Tech? Actually, you won't. They're ranked pretty similar. University of Texas and University and A&M are actually ranked above TCU. So you're paying a lot of money and the education isn't even better. So for some of you, if you're looking at this money going, whoa, that's a lot of money, I'm with you. And that's why I'm not a huge fan of TCU. I'm not a fan of SMU, Baylor, Abilene Christian. I like Rice, but there's other reasons why I like Rice. But those are reasons why I'm not a huge fan of private universities, because I think they're really expensive. If you go to TCU, will you get a good education? Yes, you will. If you go to Sam Houston, will you get a good education? Yes, you will. Okay, so I want you to not go to college and get into crazy amounts of debt, because I don't think it's necessary to get a good education. Okay, so now let's talk about, and that's why I don't like TCU, is I think it's just overpriced, and I don't want you to pay that much. Let's talk about going out of state. Out of state is $28,000, but for almost all of these are $25,000, $28,000. And then you see these colleges are $10,000 and $11,000. Wow, that's a lot of money just to go to Oklahoma or to go to Arkansas or to go to Louisiana. I went ahead and put Harvard and Yale just in case you wanted to know how expensive Harvard and Yale are. So I went ahead and put that so you could look at it. Wow, that's really interesting to me to be able to compare the prices. Now, let's talk about Tarrant County College. So Tarrant County College is less than $2,000 for a year. You don't go for 4 years, you only go for 2 years, so I only put for 2 years. And they say the total cost is about $8,000, but I'm going to let you know if you live at home, it will be significantly cheaper than that. So if you go, let's say, 2 years to TCC, and then you transfer to a university, wow, that cuts your college quite a bit. Let's try it. So let's do 2 years at 2 years of tuition at TCC, plus let's do 2 years at Texas State. That in tuition would only be $25,936. So instead of going 4 years at Texas State, going 2 years at Texas State and 2 years living at home, man, you're spending way less. That's way more affordable. So those are some options that you're going to think about when you apply for college. a big thing when you apply for college, you're looking at a college that has the program you want, so that way you can become whatever you want to become, as well as you like the community there, and you can afford it, right? I would probably be really happy at at a lot of different universities, but I picked Texas Tech because I thought, okay, I'm going to be really happy there, and I was, and I could figure out how to pay for it. I probably would have been just as happy at University of Oklahoma, but for me, out of state wasn't an option. So, now, let's talk about So, Victor wants to attend a 4-year university with an annual tuition of $14,850. He has this much in savings and earned a scholarship for $4,000 each year. How much more does he need for tuition for all 4 years? So the first thing they did was they found the total amount of tuition for 4 years, so they multiplied it by 4. Then they subtract the savings. And so then they're like, okay, well, we still have to find this much. They found the amount for the scholarship. It was $4,000 each year for 4 years, so they multiplied by 4, and then they subtracted it. So Victor still needs $26,400 to pay for tuition for all 4 years. He still needs that much money, but remember, there's other costs. There's housing, there's meals, there's transportation, there's books. So if you remember from that page before, wow, he has to figure out how to pay for this, plus a lot more. Now, explain the advantages and disadvantages of Victor using a student loan, a grant, or a work study for the remaining $26,400. Well, a student loan is great because it's easier to receive, so that's an advantage of getting a student loan, is it's easier to get. But a disadvantage is that you have to repay it with interest. So I'm going to say student loan advantage, easy to get, disadvantage, have to pay back with interest. Okay, now a grant does not require repayment, but you have to apply for one. It's often easier to receive a student loan than a grant. So, a grant, an advantage is you don't pay back. Disadvantage is you have to apply and hard to get. Now, a work study does not require repayment, but Victor would have to work while he went to school, which could interfere with your studies. I find it usually doesn't as long as you're only working a little bit. So a work study is you have to advantage, don't pay back, disadvantage, is you have to work while going to school, as well as a disadvantage is that it might not cover the entire cost. The work study might not cover the entire $26,400. Okay, Melanie wants to attend a 2-year technical college. The annual, that means the 1-year tuition, is $4,720. She has $3,800 saved and earned a grant for $1,900 each year. How much more does she need to pay the tuition for both years? You're allowed to use a calculator on this one. So we have she's going for 2 years. So this is for 1 year, the cost for 1 year. So let's multiply it by 2. So she needs to pay that much in tuition. She's going to use her savings. And she gets a grant for each year. So this is not just a one-time grant. Sometimes grants are one-time grant, and sometimes they're two-time grants. So I'm going to take away for 1 year, and then I'm going to subtract for a second year. So she still needs to pay $1,840. So she could get a student loan, she could get a work study. Those are different things that she could apply for. Okay, you are going to do some examples on your own. Make sure you think of questions. Usually in class I have tons of questions, so please, please, please email me all the questions you have. Thanks. Bye, guys.